What's up, movie lovers? I'm Mike, and this is Gotta Love Them Movies. Oh, you guys, happy Thursday. Happy Thursday to everybody out there in movie land and Facebook land and YouTube land, wherever you happen to be watching this video. Happy Thursday to you. Hope you're having a great day. My day's started off pretty well. It's all right. Had a nice shower. Of course, you're here because you want to hear about my shower benefits and everything that comes along with that. I'm just excited. We have some really cool, interesting things, some new things in the news that we're talking about, things that we did not expect to hear. Things we wanted to hear, but things we did not expect to hear. If you were new, Gotta Love Them Movies is just an online forum where we all come together and just enjoy and talk about all the things that we love most in this world, movies and movie news and all sorts of that good stuff. Anyway, I have a very special guest today. I'm very excited for him to be on the show. He's a very good friend of mine. We started in comedy together. We kind of came up in improv together. We've been watching each other's careers for, I don't know, what, like over a decade now? Like 12 or 13 years now? Very excited. You know him from the Puffs off-Broadway show as Jay Finch. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for a very good friend of mine, Mr. Nick Carrillo.
Hello, happy to be here.
Woo-woo.
Thanks for having me.
Nick, first of all, you got to hear about my shower habits. How is your morning going?
Good. I also just had a shower. I had a run, did a little run, watched an episode of Cobra Kai, and while I ran, and then took a shower. So yeah.
Oh, Cobra Kai, what a fun show.
Very fun show. Really like it.
Not a show that I think was on anyone's radar to be anything special or fantastic, but I'm enjoying it. It's terrible, but it's great at the same time.
Oh, I just think it's great. I remember when it was on YouTube, people who had seen it loved it, and they were like, it's a great show. It's just nobody had YouTube. Nobody was like subscribing to their shows, and that's why YouTube dropped that. And then Netflix picked it up, and I love it. I'm almost done with the second season, and it's great.
It just dropped on Netflix like overnight, and all of a sudden everyone's like, what? What is this thing? And oh, it was fantastic. Anyway, guys, we've got a whole bunch of stuff to cover today. Just so you have an idea as to what the show order is going to be like. Today, as every day, I'm going to tell you how to subscribe to the channel on YouTube and why that's important. We're going to do a quick Toy Tuesday recap from this last Tuesday. Then we're going to cover the movie news, jump right into Throwback Thursday, which this Throwback Thursday, we're talking about the movie Parasite. We're going to give a quick little review, our thoughts. Just kind of let you know it's been a year later. How is it? Is it still holding up? Great. We're going to open up the Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag and finish the show by taking your live questions. So, as always, let's just jump right into this. If you go over to youtube.com and type in Gotta Love Them Movies, you'll see a little red square in the top right-hand corner. It says subscribe on it. Go ahead and click that button. Clicking that red subscribe button will help us to increase our subscriber base on YouTube. But, Mike, we're watching the show on Facebook Live. Why do I have to go to YouTube? Here's the catch. By expanding our subscriber base and also the amount of videos or the amount of overall views on the channel, that will help me qualify to start earning ad revenue. And by earning ad revenue, I get to make this show my everyday job, full-time job. I get to bring it to you every single day as we currently do. But hey, I get to actually make money doing it. So I would very much appreciate your support in that regard. And of course, as soon as we hit 1,000 subscribers, this show will be moving from Facebook to the YouTubes. So go ahead and be on the lookout for whenever that happens. All right, as I mentioned before, we're just going to do a quick Toy Tuesday recap from this last Tuesday. What is Toy Tuesdays? It's a free toy giveaway from my personal collection. I am a toy collector, as you may have noticed. I would like to continue collecting toys, but I only have a finite amount of space. There's no expense to the winner, and you must adhere to the following conditions. Gotta be a subscriber to the YouTube channel. Like and share this video on social media, and comment at the bottom of this video the words Toy Tuesday if you want to be qualified to win this absolutely ridiculous plush sausage. That's right. This is a sausage that I won from one of those grabber machines at Denny's. So just go down to the comment section below, write the words Toy Tuesday along with the word Grand Slam, and you will be considered in the running for this plush, upside down faced, like the face actually got embroidered upside down. I don't know how that happens, but that is what is on the docket for today. So if you want to win that sausage, jump down to the comment section below, like, share, subscribe. Easy peasy. All right, guys, with all that out of the way, it's time to take a little bit of movie news.
What? What?
That is right. It is time to start talking about all the different things that are popping up in the news today. And there's a few interesting things that popped up, a few things that we didn't expect to hear about before. First and foremost, this article comes to us from Deadline. Wonder Woman 1984. There is talk, you guys, that Wonder Woman 1984 may get pushed back from its October release date to December. And if it does that, that's going to end up pushing the other Warner Brothers picture, Dune, which we just saw the trailer for yesterday, back to 2021. But all of this is dependent on what happens with Tenet. Currently, Tenet sits at about 150. I think they just crossed over 150 million dollars in the worldwide box office. In normal numbers, that's terrible. Those are terrible numbers. In a non-pandemic world, $150 million for a movie like Tenet, being that they spent $200 million making the film, you have to spend another $200 million to market or advertise the film, and then you have to take another 1.5% for the box office. And then that is what the revenue ends up coming in. And if you don't make, let's see, what are we at? 400 million, about 600. If you don't make 600 million, at least bare minimum, that's what they need to break even. This is an interesting story, though, Nick, and I'm going to bring you up on screen here as everything is. See, this is joys of live shows. Everything is mismatched and mismanaged. There we go. Depending on Tenet, Nick. First of all, do you think Tenet has the opportunity to make at least $600 million in its worldwide theatrical run? And if not, do you actually think that Wonder Woman being pushed back is going to drastically affect, the box office of Wonder Woman? And if Dune gets pushed back, is that going to affect the box office of Dune? Like, where is Warner Brothers at right now?
I don't think Tenet's going to make that money. I think right now it's just like there are so few people going to movie theaters all over because it's still just like a dangerous thing. I think I think the thing to do right now is to push stuff back or just release it on VOD. Like things that are getting released on streaming services is the best way, because to try to make money off of like anything in a theater is just going to be too much. I think they should push back Wonder Woman. I know I want to see it. I've been waiting to see it. It was supposed to come out earlier this year. Now they moved it to October. Now they might move it to December. And I think Dune, I don't think they should rush anything. I'd rather everything be like a good, safe place for me to go see a movie, and I can see these movies the way they're intended to be instead of rushing anything. So I was like, take your time. It's okay. We got time.
You said that we have time. There's also the I guess the issue of the studio needs to make its money back because it still owes the banks. The banks still have the bank loans, and we're talking like millions and millions, hundreds of millions of dollars on these bank loans, and the interest is only going to go up the longer it takes for them to pay off these loans. And, a lot of these studios don't just have cash laying around in the bank. We all love to think that Disney has so much money, like more money than God. And that's not really the case. They've got a little cash in hand, but not enough to finance, a $200 million film, like an Avengers Endgame kind of thing. So with the interest in the banks going up, with the interest from the banks still staying and the interest is still accumulating, time is a factor a little bit. And if we want, my argument has always been, and anybody who's been watching the show with any amount of regularity knows my position on this, that if we want the same quality of films, we have to pay for them. This has been my argument with Mulan coming out on VOD. Like, if you want these quality of films, you got to pay for them. We can all sit here and say, man, I don't want to pay the $30 on VOD to not even own the film. And it's, going to be out on mass release anyway in 3 months. So right now, Nick, you're talking about VOD releases or premium VOD releases being the only way that we can help these movies out in a safe, controlled environment, yes, that is true. But there's also the financial aspect to keep in mind here. Mulan is not, it's just not going to, not that it can't, it's just not going to earn the same amount of money on premium VOD than what it would in the theaters. Same thing with Bill and Ted Face the Music. That was one of my most anticipated films of the year, was Bill and Ted Face the Music. Nah, not a great movie, but, you know.
Oh, really? I thought it was great.
I
really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
You know, I think I gave it like a 62 or something.
My question, though, to you, though, is, okay, like, true, I still don't think Tenet opening in theaters is going to make that money that it needs to. But my question is, would you go see that movie in the theaters right now?
Tenet? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
you would go right now. Okay.
I would. Right now I would. A lot of theaters are doing like 25% capacity, 30% capacity. Because, you know, I also work on an airplane. When I'm not doing the show here, I work on an airplane. So I get to see like the real world applications of people in public spaces, in like small confined spaces too. It's a very unique position. Are they wearing their masks? Sometimes they're not. And that is extremely, extremely frustrating. Because especially on an airplane, you're all, you know, packed in here together. Yeah. So when you're not wearing your mask, it makes a huge difference. In a movie theater, even if there was every other seat, even if they filled it to 50% capacity, I still feel like it's relatively safe enough. Again, this is me. I can't speak for anybody else. I feel like it's relatively safe enough. I've always said, wear your mask, wash your hands, social distance.
Yeah.
If you can't social distance, wear your mask, wash your hands. If you can't wash your hands, wear your mask. Your mask will always be your best defense against spreading, or in, you know, some cases, receiving some of these germs or viruses. So that's always been my position. So if you're in a movie theater, wear your mask, wash your hands, you know, wipe your seat down, bring your own cleaning cloths. I would feel safe going to see Tenet, but at the same time, there are so many people that don't feel safe, and I can't say
that's
that
why
for anyone else.
That's why I don't know if it's even going to be worth releasing these in theaters, just because they're going to do this. Most of the theaters aren't even open right now.
Yeah.
Still, like in New York, I think there's just a couple. I remember I was trying to look. I was like, what if I went to go see like New Mutants when it came out, and there was like one theater in Connecticut that I could go to. So like that's the other aspect of like, yeah, you can open in theaters and say like, we promise it's the most safe thing in the world, but like, what theaters are even open right now? And that's an aspect. And I actually read an interesting article. This was very early on in the pandemic, so this could all have been washed away. But there was a theory of like what's going to happen to movies and the community, like studios and being developed. And there was a thing of, there was an interesting aspect that could happen, but I don't know, maybe that's been all kind of washed away. But there was the idea, because there was a law that was written in that studios can't own movie theaters. So like Warner Brothers, Paramount, they can't own AMC. They can't have a thing, because they used to, and it used to be like a problem because they would only show their movies.
Yes, I believe it's called the Paramount. The Paramount laws or something like that.
Yeah, it's the Paramount law, and some were wondering that because since movie theaters are suffering, since a lot of them were like, we might go bankrupt, since studios are like, how are we going to show our movies? That a theory was that they get rid of this law, they allow a studio to buy a theater, and they kind of turn it into like, it's almost like when you go to Disneyland or you go to anything owned by, you know, you go in, here's Disney stuff, here's a Disney experience, here's this, you come out, here's the gift shop. Yeah. You would do that where you would go like, okay, Warner Brothers would own this theater. You have Warner Brother merchandise. They have their food and drinks are formed for this thing. You have a whole experience, and you go see their specific movies. And I mean, it kind of already started happening because Netflix bought that one movie theater, and they like were showing like Marriage Story a while back. And they were able to get around with that. I think it was
like somewhere off Hollywood Boulevard or something, like very close, very public. Yeah.
Yeah. It was like a smaller one that they kept open, and they were like, we own it. We're just going to show this. So it that could be an idea for a studio to save itself, is to, we just show our movie, we own this theater, we're making money off of it. And a lot of the reason why tickets are so high is concessions is so high is because that's how the movie theaters make their money. because it all goes to the thing. So people were saying that could even make the prices of tickets and food and everything to go down because it would all be owned by the studio.
I think that's a decent idea. I don't think it's a cure-all because when you have like the smaller studios like A21 or Blumhouse, they're not going to be able to afford something like that. And even if they did open a theater or, you know, a handful of theaters around the country, it's not going to be big enough. In their theater, let's say Blumhouse, because they're kind of a burgeoning production studio right now. They still don't have the capital to open something like that. They made $108 million off of The Invisible Man with a $7 million budget. So they exponentially grew their, you know, over 10 times their budget. They're still not going to be able to do something like that. And if there aren't like any AMCs or Regals or Cinemarks or anything like that to show a Blumhouse film, that studio is kind of going to dry up itself. So that would help like the big studios like Disney or Warner Brothers or Paramount, something like that. But I don't see, or Universal.
Well, the theory is that like other smaller independent theaters would be the one that would house those indie like productions and stuff like that.
Yeah, but I mean, who would go?
I mean,
see
again,
that?
like it's all ifs and buts and everything and possibilities. But I thought it was an interesting thing that somebody was like, "This is a possibility," and it was saying how it would make it more interesting because indie stuff would almost be able to be made a little bit easier because at this point everybody's starving for stuff because things are being made that like if you can make an independent project and you can like do it safely and like prove that everything's okay and do all this like you have like good quality, like that indie stuff will get churned out and studios will just buy it up. Studios will go gobble gobble gobble, we need content and we need something that's inexpensive because we don't have a lot of, I mean, look what happened on the Batman. The Batman was like, we're practicing save everything, blah blah blah, and then their star gets COVID. That's huge.
That's a huge problem. Anyway, question is to you guys: what do you think of Wonder Woman possibly getting pushed back? It's going to it's being affected by Tenet, and Dune is being affected by Wonder Woman. Everything just gets pushed back. Is it a smart call to push everything back? As Nick was saying, like we need to kind of have a better system in place to maybe not a system, but let's have some better assurances and make sure that the parameters are safer and better. Do you think it's a good idea to push everything back, or are you just kind of fine where everything sits currently? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, next bit of news coming out. This is actually something that was not on my radar whatsoever, and then all of a sudden, Collider last night just dropped this little bit of news. Borat 2 is a film that is not just happening, has already happened. Apparently, Sacha Baron Cohen has written, produced, directed, and starred in a secret film starring his most popular of characters, Borat, and he did it all in secret. I had no idea this was happening until news came out yesterday. The first Borat, nobody knew who Borat was. Very few people actually knew who Sacha Baron Cohen was. And then he's gone on over the years, over the past decade, to kind of do like smaller projects. Like Bruno was a thing. There was another one. In fact, Nick, we have a mutual friend who was in the Bruno film. Oscar Green, Lisa
that's
Lampino.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, that's a whole other kettle of fish that just came to mind. Anyway, Sacha Baron Cohen, Borat himself, has in secret shot, filmed, directed, and started screening his sequel to the Borat film. All of this is in secret. I think this is a really fun idea. I've always loved the Borat character. Shock humor is something that appeals to me. It's not something that appeals to a lot of people. It's just not mainstream. Not that it can't be mainstream. It's just, it is definitely off-putting to a lot of people. Nick, have you heard of this? And if you have, what are your general thoughts?
I did not hear about this. I want to say maybe I heard something about happening in secret that he was working on some project, but I'm not sure. But this is news to me. I enjoyed the first one a lot. I didn't see Bruno I didn't see The Dictator. I've seen him in other things. He's fantastic. He's a great actor, great character actor
Yeah,
too.
it's true.
I think that's great that he was able to shoot this on his own. He put it up. I mean, that's the time, is to, like, when you have all, we all have nothing but time. We're locked in, to make your own stuff and be like, here it is. Here's what I got. I think that's great. I'm curious to see it.
Yeah, same with me. I mean, we don't know a lot about this except that he has done it. It is filmed, it is cut, and he started screening it. So I guess the question is like, when is this going to either drop on VOD, or is this going to be a theatrical release? I'm tripping over my words right now. I'm trying to keep my mouth hydrated with a little water, but it's not working. Guys, what do you think? Are you excited for it? Do you think this is a dumb idea? Are you just over the Borat character? Or do you actually think this is kind of a clever, smart move? Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right, guys, we have one last bit of movie news before we move on. And Nick, I wasn't able to pre-screen you with this. You have no idea what's coming. This came out late last night. It only came on my radar because I was, doing a quick little Google search as to something new that dropped. Kumail Nanjiani was being interviewed about the Eternals movie. In fact, he wasn't even being interviewed. He just came out with a statement. And there's a lot of wondering as to where's Marvel. DC just had their DC Fandom a few weekends ago. There's all this news about DC properties like Wonder Woman, the Batman, the Suicide Squad with James Gunn, the Flash movie, all the stuff with Ray Fisher and Walter Hamada and, the president of DC Films and all this stuff. DC and Warner Brothers has kind of been in, the public space for a while, but a lot of fans are wondering, where's Marvel? What is happening with Marvel? We haven't heard or seen anything since Spider-Man Far From Home. Well, Kumail Nanjiani jumped on social media last night, and he kind of had some interesting things to say about the Eternals movie. Now, the Eternals movie is one of those films that we know virtually nothing about. We really don't know much about the Eternals. In the public sphere, nobody knows who the Eternals are. I mean, if you just ask your average movie-going audience, your average grandmother, hey, who are the Eternals? No clue. Ask same person, who's Spider-Man? Everybody knows who Spider-Man is. I'm comparing the Eternals movie in a very similar light to how I approached Guardians of the Galaxy. Very few people knew who the Guardians of the Galaxy were, but then when we got a first trailer, it was kind of mind-blowing. What is happening? This looks like the coolest thing ever. I've seen a few set photos of the Eternals. I've heard a little bit of news from the Eternals. I mean, last year at Comic-Con, we got to see the whole cast, or at D23 rather, we got to see the whole cast. But here, Kumail Nanjiani jumped on his social media and said, I know there isn't much news yet. I'm in the dark too. Trust me, I can't wait for it, whenever it comes. But I promise the movie will be worth the wait. It's the most exciting, fun, epic, thrilling, hilarious, and moving project I've ever been a part of. And it's massive. The scale of it is unlike anything I've ever seen. I would walk on to shoot and be awestruck by the sets every day. That is a quote directly from Kumail Nanjiani himself. I have a few thoughts about this, but before we jump into my brain, Nick, I want to hear what's on your brain. Have you read this quote before? Have you heard Kumail Nanjiani talk about this? What's your initial knee-jerk reaction?
So this is news to me, but I'm very excited because I have been seeing little updates from the set. There's been some toy leaks because figures are coming out in other countries, and because they can't halt that as they can like when this movie comes out. So there's been leaks of I know Ajax, Salma Hayek's character has been spotted, the toys. You can kind of see what she looks like. Looks amazing. The artwork looks incredible. I'm excited for this movie. It's got an incredible, diverse, awesome, amazing cast. That's just everybody in it is just an incredible person on top of another. And I think it is going to be huge because Marvel just blew everybody away with this whole saga of the Infinity War, and then had the Infinity War had Endgame, and then just kind of was what's next? You had Spider-Man, which was awesome, but now I think they're gonna and we're still waiting for Black Widow, but I think Eternals is gonna be that real just wham bam, here we are, here's our big thing. I think you're right. I think comparing it kind of to Guardians, where everybody was like, I'm not sure about this. But I love when Marvel's like, here's a property that you're not super aware of, but we're going to make you fall in love with it. And that's how they started off. That's how the MCU did it, because they didn't have the X-Men. They didn't have Spider-Man. So they had to be like, here's Captain America, here's Iron Man, here's Thor, who people know, Hulk, who people know, but they're not like these other ones, but they've turned them into like, people know who they are.
It's true. Like when the MCU first dropped, even before it was the MCU, back in the days when it was, hey, we're going to put out an Iron Man movie, I was against that idea. Up until this point, the only Marvel films we had were X-Men. I mean, Blade. Okay. Yeah, we had Blade.
Blade was the
X-Men.
first one.
What other properties? Spider-Man. Fantastic Four.
Technically, there was a Captain America and Punisher movie years ago.
True, but not like a cinematic version.
Dolph Lundgren was Punisher. Yeah.
And Fantastic Four did not go over very well. Either film, they did not go over very well critical acclaim. So when Marvel, and at the time nobody knew the difference between Marvel Entertainment and Marvel Studios. Yeah. Like that delineation had not been made public knowledge yet. So I was very much against the first Iron Man. And I loved it. And then Incredible Hulk came out, which I was excited for that because Hulk, the Ang Lee Hulk, was terrible.
Yeah, that was rough. That was
so bad.
Movie.
Anyway, I want to go back to this quote for a second, because as Kamal Nanjiani points out, right in the middle of his quote, he says, "It's the most exciting, fun, epic, thrilling, hilarious, and moving project I've ever been a part of." Here's my knee-jerk reaction to that. Great. Good for you. Headlines. Actor is excited to be employed. That's my knee-jerk reaction. And I'm sure he's being extremely genuine when he says it. But I keep going back to Richard E. Grant. Do you remember just before Rise of Skywalker came out, Richard E. Grant made a little video of himself crying. Like, he was so emotionally moved at how good Rise of Skywalker was. Oof. And we were so excited for it. This video came out. He's like, I just came out of the screening. It was so good. And I'm just, And then we kind of went to go see the movie, and I was like, no thanks.
Yeah, that was a disappointing movie.
Hugely disappointing movie. So that's where I'm at. I'm not going to say that this movie is not going to be, and I quote, exciting, fun, epic, thrilling, hilarious, and moving. I'm not going to say that it's not that. It's just we need to take this a little bit with a grain of salt to say, hey, this actor who was a part of this project is excited to be a part of this project, and he has high hopes and aspirations for it. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure it'll be great. But with this quote in particular, we kind of need to take it with a grain of salt. Do you have a different aspect on that as a working actor?
I think I understand what you're saying, and like the Richard E. Grant thing is a good thing to point it to. And I think as actors, it's their job to promote this and be like, this is going to be the next best thing you've ever seen. I mean, I've seen actors in studios be like, in interviews, be like, this is a great movie. And then later on, they were like, I had to say that. I know that movie was bad.
Well, Hugh Jackman did that with the first Wolverine film.
Oh, yeah, that first Wolverine was rough. That Wolverine Origins, X-Men Origins one. I mean, I remember when Harrison Ford got mad at Shia LaBeouf for kind of dissing on the new Indiana Jones, King of the Crystal Skull. And he goes, it's just your job to go out there and promote this movie. Yeah. And, that is not a very good movie. But like, I'm going in with optimism. And then I think he generally does feel good about this. And I'm really excited for the film. I just think it's going to be something really incredible. And, for the most part, Marvel's been really, really good about, they've had their pitfalls here and there with movies. But like they pretty much usually deliver. So I feel like they're going to deliver on this one.
They do. I agree. Question is, guys, what do you think about this news about Kamal Nanjiani coming straight out and saying like how epic and huge and fun and thrilling and hilarious this movie is going to be? Does this get you excited a little bit more for the movie? I mean, I have to admit, it gets me a little bit more excited, but at the same time, I take it with a grain of salt. A working actor is excited to be working. Good for him. Hopefully good for us that this movie is going to be on the same level as what we've always known and expected the MCU to be. Jump on down to the comment section below and let me know what your thoughts there are. All right, guys. That does it for the movie news today. Now it is time to jump. Where am I? I'm scrolling all over the place here. It is time to jump into our movie review in Throwback Thursdays. Right, you guys, it is Throwback Thursdays. Today is Thursday. It is that day of the week where we revisit a film that came out a year ago. We asked the question, does it still hold up? Is it as good as we remember, or is it as bad as we remember? Depending on the film, that's a huge spectrum there. Today's film Nick and I will be reviewing is the 2019 winner of, Best Picture, Parasite. Nick, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I thought this was absolutely spectacular. I remember just before going into the theater thinking, okay, like people have been saying some pretty good things about this. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself, and offering my 2 cents about it. And then pretty much halfway through the movie, I was thinking, this is a great movie. And then it took a huge turn, and I thought, this is not just a good movie, this is a great movie. This is an absolutely fantastic film that everybody has to see. When was the last time that you saw Parasite? Okay, great. I absolutely love this film. I thought it was spectacular. But I would just love to jump right in without giving too many spoilers away. If you still haven't seen the film, we highly, highly recommend go watch Parasite.
Yes.
Because it's the kind of film that even my mother was interested in. My mom is not into like weird, twisty, mind-bendy kind of movies. Not that this is a mind-bending movie, but there's a point in the movie that you think you're going along this trajectory, and then it takes a sharp left turn. Cool, awesome. Let's just jump right in and talk about the acting. The acting of this movie I thought was spectacular. First of all, this is a Korean film, written, directed, and produced in South Korea. It was brilliant. It was brilliant. The acting was so on par. The way the actors played the characters was believable, but also they did it in a way that we, the viewing audience, had a personal connection with them. You cared about the characters from their portrayals. I mean, every film has, some level of good acting or bad acting, or you can point to a certain thing. As long as the story's good, even if it has bad acting, okay, yeah, you can still have a personal connection. This had great writing, and it had great acting in it. Nick, what are your thoughts about the acting in the film?
Oh, that was incredible. Everybody hit the mark. You felt for every character. You got a sense for every character, no matter how little or how much they were on screen. You saw the dynamics of the family, whether it was the poor family, the other family, like just every aspect of it. It was so clear, the intentions. And yeah, it's a thing for you to feel for everybody and to really get everything. And they really told that story. I mean, everyone was amazing. I'm kind of upset that there wasn't any Oscar nominations for actors for the acting in it, because they were
so true. There wasn't.
No, there wasn't, and they really should have. They really should have.
Yeah, wholeheartly. I think when I think about the acting of this film, I keep going back to the movie Mulholland Drive. There's a moment, like the first half of the film, the acting is terrible. And I remember the first time I was watching this film, the acting was so bad, I almost turned it off because I thought, everybody raves about Mulholland Drive and how great it is. And then there was this one moment in the film, and it's really small, and everything turns, everything changes in this one tiny little moment, and then the acting gets incredible. And then you get to the end of the film and you realize, oh, the acting was bad on purpose. It makes narrative sense. And I'm not going to say that the acting in the first half of this film was bad. It wasn't. But the actors take you on this one journey of a poor family leeching or becoming a parasite off of a more affluent family. And you just kind of think, oh, okay, well, this is, this is what they're doing. I don't say meh, but this is what they're doing. And so they're acting in a way that is in accordance with what they want most in the world. And then the weird thing happens. I'm not going to say what the weird thing is. And then everything changes in their acting style that gets, you've been on this journey with them. And then now you understand why they do the things that they do from an emotional standpoint. And when the crazy comes, it was brilliant. I absolutely loved it. Nick, do you have any last thoughts to say about acting before we move on?
I'm just, again, I agree with everything you said. It was incredible. They told such a story, and I just love how it was because, which we'll probably get to, of like the story of the written part of it is, it seems like kind of almost like a heist, like a comedy at points, like a heist at point. Then it becomes like almost like a horror, like it switches up in so many aspects. And I think the acting keeps up with that. They don't ever we don't know what movie, or they know what movie they're in the whole time. And it's amazing.
There was one little section towards the beginning of the film where they're still kind of like getting established. I guess you could say the main character, the eldest son, is meeting with a friend of his, and that whole scene to propel the story. That scene was extremely important because without that story, we wouldn't have the foundation to move on with the film. That scene, it laid a little flat for me, and we'll talk about it in directing, we'll talk about it in writing, but also in acting. But that was the only part of the movie that I was like meh about, and for that reason, I'm gonna give acting a 19 out of 20. I thought it was phenomenal. All right, so let's go into directing. Everything in this movie is interconnected, so we're just gonna be crossing genres the whole time. The pacing of the film was perfect. I dare say perfect. The tone of the film was flawless, because again, you think you're watching one movie, kind of like a comedy heist, as you put it, and then this weird thing happens and everything changes, and the tone changes, the pacing changes, but it changes in a way that feels natural. It feels earned. Cinematography was beautiful. The only problem that I had with the directing at all, even the visual effects, I mean, there were very, very minimal visual effects here, but even they were spectacular. The only problem that I had, again, it was that scene where the eldest son gets together with his friend and says, here's this story point that we need to go off on. It seemed a little dragged out. It was losing my interest just a hair, and I knocked a point off the top for that. But Nick, directing overall, what are your general thoughts?
It was so fluid with everything, and the visuals, and how many like little Easter eggs, and how they show the differences between the families just visually, without having to telegraph it too much, without hitting you over the head.
Yeah.
You get so much.
Yep. Oh yeah.
And how good a director, like that's just great direction. And yeah, the cinematography was beautiful.
So yeah, we have great acting, we have great directing, and for all of that stuff combined, we're giving directing a 19 out of 20. Let's move on to writing. This was one of my favorite parts of the movie, was just the script. I love the dialogue. I love how the story unfolds. I like seeing the characters interact with each other in a way that, again, it feels natural. It feels earned. It's this. The whole film is based on the premise of there's this really poor family. There's this the friend of the oldest son says, "Hey, I teach English to this one family. I'm moving to Chicago to move on with my life." That was a bit of a throwaway, kind of like, man, this doesn't matter. But it also is the thing that propels the story. This affluent family needs somebody to come in and teach their eldest daughter English, and then that's where the story picks up. It's a really clever concept. I love the direction, again, the tone, the pacing, the writing was phenomenal. Again, the only problem that I have is that one scene where the eldest son and his best friend get together and say, "Hey, I need you to, start teaching English to this family, or to the daughter." that scene seemed a little dragged out for me. I knocked a couple of points off the top. Nick, where do you stand with the writing?
I think it's great again. I agree with it. Like, great story. The dialogue was well written. Everyone was so, like, it was also natural, and it really, really told the story. I really didn't have a problem with that scene that you didn't like that much. I think it really, I think it was well done. I think it shows the differences between the classes with these two boys. And then you just see the start of like everything of like, you know, the son comes in next person, and then, you know, you think the movie's going one way, and then it just changes again. And for that to be in the script as well as the directing and the acting is incredible. So yeah.
Oh, no, I totally agree with everything you're saying. I just felt like that scene was a little dragged out. I think they could have maybe shortened it up a little bit. I didn't feel as engaged with the film as I did in that particular scene, and so that's why for writing, I did knock a couple of points off. I gave it an 18 out of 20. It's still a fantastic script. It's a fantastic story. The way that it's laid out in the end, again, I can't say anything about the ending, but woof, like it was. Everything there was just incredible.
Yeah.
Takeaway. The overall takeaway of the film. What's the message of the film? What is it that we as the audience can learn from this story? Before I jump into this, Nick, I want to hear what your takeaway of the film was.
Well, I think it's interesting because a movie like that, and you can go see, you know, you can show me any goofy, fun, over-the-top movie, and I'll be like, hey, I enjoyed that. And then sometimes there is a movie with a message, and I felt like this one had a very powerful message, and it dealt a lot with like class systems and like how people are affected differently, and how, like, you know, and it's something that we're seeing now in our everyday life, especially what's going on in the world, like how economic standings is really like how some people, when they're on top, they don't realize what's happening below them, and how that all can trickle down. And you see how just little things can influence everybody around you, and how hard it is to get to the top once you're down. Like, it's not an easy thing to rise up. Yeah. And it just had so many symbols and symbology to it all, and the way the families worked, and like the relationships. And I mean, the thing is about a movie like this, I remember when it came out, I didn't see it right away, but I had everybody like, you have to see it. And when a movie gets hyped up that much, it's always kind of like, oh, I wish you didn't tell me anything.
It becomes dangerous, yeah.
Yeah, it becomes dangerous, because I've done that, and I've seen a movie and then been like, it's okay. But this lived up to the hype. And I've had other people where I've told them, you know, it's worth it, and they come out and they go, wow, yeah, you're right, that was totally worth the hype. And it does. It lives up to it because it's incredible.
Well, for me, the thing that I, like you were talking about symbology, I love the name of the film, Parasite, because it takes on so many different meanings the further into the film that you get. You have this poor family who is mooching off of an affluent family. You come to realize and find out you have an affluent family who is mooching off of, you know, the lower class system. You have again, I can't like that. Yeah.
Parasite has a lot of meaning in it.
A lot of meaning there. A lot of meaning. I'm a huge sucker for cautionary tales, and I think this is a fantastic cautionary tale from a 360-degree perspective. And for that reason, given the overall takeaway a 19 out of 20. All right, it's time for the last category of the film, effectiveness. How effective was this movie? How well did they work together? What was it the studio was trying to say? What is the filmmakers were trying to say, along with the actors and the writer and the storytelling? Did they accomplish the goal that they set out to do? I contend, not only did they accomplish the goal that they set out to do, they crushed it. I think they blew apart their own expectations for this movie. I feel that they wanted to say something interesting and something poignant and have a lot of meaning and symbolism behind it. And I think this took on a brand new cultural meaning that they didn't foresee happening. Do you have a different insight to that?
No, I agree with you. I think that they, like you said, they 100% went for what they wanted to do. Everything they set out, they did. And like you said, not only did they do it, but they crushed it. Like they blew it out of the water. I think it's rare. There's great films out there. There's amazing films out there. There's films that I can watch over and over again, but it's a rare thing when a film is as perfect as this one is. And it just really they got their message out. They got the story out. They had an amazing cast, this ensemble that worked together. The director told his story. He had his visuals. He had everything he wanted done. He worked meticulously on it to do that.
Yeah.
So, and it shows. It shows the work is all there. And I just think it's
and the marketing as well. I don't know if you mentioned the marketing, but like just getting the word out to everybody and saying like this is. They said like an A through. I don't know. I'm going to pick an ambiguous letter. M. How about A through M? They said, this is what the film is. This is your expectation for it. This is what you should take away from it. And then the rest of the audience was the one who filled in the blanks of N through Z. Like, we all just rose up in unison to say how fantastic this film was. All of that is to say, overall effectiveness, I don't think there's any other film that could have done it better. 20 out of 20. It was perfect. So all of that together, the 19, the 19, the 18, the 19, and the 20, add that all up together, and that equals...
What's with you? Yesterday you were normal, and today you're like the Chinese guy from the Karate Kid. What's with you today?
What's with today?
That's right, a 95 out of 100. That's where I'm scoring this. I'm saying Parasite is a 95 out of 100. I think this is a fantastic film. Nick, 95 out of 100. Do you think that's too low, or do you think that's spot on?
I'd probably give that movie 100 out of 100.
Okay.
But I think 95 out of 100 is a good average for it. Like, I think there's a lot of people that would be like, yeah, that's about right. I'm not gonna fight over 5 more points or so.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, but I think that's an accurate. I think I would be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Cool.
Absolutely.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, what did you think of Parasite? Did you have a chance to see it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you somewhere in between? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. And also, do you think 95 is too low of a score? Do you think, like as Nick said, do you think this deserves 100, a 99, or is it just not even worth quibbling about? As we said, jump down to the comment section below. Let us know your thoughts. All right, guys. With all of that down and out of the way, we have 2 categories left. This is the Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag. All right, it is time to open up that Gotta Love That Movies mailbag. And guys, if you want to get a main topic on today's show, all you have to do is send me an email at gottalovethammovies@gmail.com. It's a 24-hour service. It's email, so it never shuts down. If you have a question, if there's some kind of a topic that you think I'm not aware of yet, just go ahead and send me an email at gottalovethammovies@gmail.com, and we'll put your question or comment as a main topic on the show today. So let's just jump into our first emailed question. And our first emailed question comes from Tyler, who lives in Cranberry, Pennsylvania. That's pretty much where I grew up. So Tyler says, Mike... all in caps. Mike, did you see that Mint Mobile commercial? Does this mean Rick Moranis, the great and wonderful, is back? Yeah, and that is true. Great, as you say, Rick Moranis, the great and wonderful, was brought out of acting retirement by Ryan Reynolds. Who else but Ryan Reynolds, fellow Canadian himself, to do a cell phone commercial. This particular article is coming to us from cnet.com, but there are so many more, hundreds and hundreds of news outlets are reporting on this. And yeah, that's right. Rick Moranis has technically, I guess you could say, come out of retirement to do a commercial with Ryan Reynolds. And that's not the only thing on his bag. We know that he is coming out of retirement again to reprise his role as Wayne Szalinski in Shrunk, the new film coming out on Disney Plus, starring Josh Gad as his son. Can't remember the son's name. Something Szalinski. Anyway, Nick Szalinski?
Yeah.
Oh, well, there you go. Nick, speaking of Nicks.
That's how I do that.
Is this the first time you're hearing of this, or did you actually see the commercial that Wayne Szalinski himself was starring in?
I saw the commercial last night, and it was incredible because it's just, he's been out of the spotlight. He's been out of acting for so long, and even just the simple commercial like that, it just doesn't seem like he's lost a beat of anything. Like, he's just nailed it, and I can't wait. And I've heard about how he's the kids movie, and I'm so excited. And I I'm so glad he's back. I know everybody's been waiting for him, and it's just going to be incredible for him to be back in.
But Nick, this begs the question. Our viewer Tyler was asking the question: does this mean he's back? Do you think he's back?
I think if he's doing a commercial and he's going to do a Honey I Shrunk the Kids movie, I think he's back. I don't think we're going to see him all over the place, but I think I feel like I remember he did a podcast several years ago, and they were just like, "So what's the deal?" And he's like, "I'm good for right now." He didn't come back for the new Ghostbusters. He was just kind of like choosing his stuff. But I think if he's down to do a commercial and he's down to, reprise his role for the Honey I Shrunk the Kids franchise, I think we're going to start seeing him in a lot more things. What he feels good about, the things that he's like, yeah, this is worth my time. This would be fun. Sure. I think we'll see him.
I hope so as well. I'm a little dubious of the term back. It definitely implies that like he's out of retirement, he's a working actor again, but I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit. I think he is going to start being a little bit more particular with the roles that he chooses. I think it's very curious to me that he turned down Ghostbusters 2016, he turned down Ghostbusters Afterlife, but he is again, coming out of retirement for a Honey I Shrunk the Kids movie, a fourth Honey I Shrunk the Kids movie. I think that alone is very informative of the type of content that he wants to put out from here on out. I definitely think that Rick Moranis is one of the comic legends, like a living legend of our time. I don't think that's uncharacteristic to say. But I am interested to see where he goes from here. Because if you check on his IMDb page, he has nothing listed except for Shrunk. That's it. The Mint Mobile thing was kind of, it surprised everybody. And speaking to my girlfriend about it, who is a marketing professional, her whole thing was saying that, like, okay, it's great that, Rick Moranis is starring in this commercial, but what is it other than a gimmick? Mm-hmm. And to my point, I, pointed out, well, now I know what Mint Mobile is. I've never heard of Mint Mobile before. Not even close. So now I think that was a smart move on their part. I think it was an interesting move on Rick Moranis' part to kind of jump out and say, hey, okay, yeah, sure, I'll do this tiny little thing. He also did, back in 2008, he did a voice. Oh, shoot, I can't remember. He was a voice in an animated film. But it's like really small, tiny little bit parts, just, make a buck here or there. I don't think he's interested. Ever since the death of his wife and he's had to raise his kids, he has been very vocal in saying, I'm not interested in being in the spotlight. So do you think moving forward, he is going to be choosing smaller roles to keep him out of the spotlight? Or do you think, time will tell? Maybe he will jump back into Ghostbusters. What are your thoughts?
I think he's gonna choose smaller roles. I think, like in Shrunk, he's playing, the father. I'm sure Josh Gad's gonna be the lead. He'll come in and do his cameo, and I think he's gonna do that. I think he's gonna do fun, small roles and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he does more like voiceover stuff. Yeah. And for cartoons, which will be great. Yeah. I would love for him to work with Mel Brooks one more time before it's too late. But I don't know if we're gonna get that. I don't know if we're gonna be that lucky. But I think I'll see him in small stuff, and I'll take it. I'll take what I get.
What's the working title for that movie? Is Spaceballs the return for money, or the cash grab for money?
Something like that. There was a couple of them. Yeah, that would be hilarious.
It was great. Anyway, guys, what are your thoughts? Are you just as excited as we are to see, Rick Moranis pop out of retirement, even if it is for a cell phone commercial ad? Jump on down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts, as well as what types of projects do you think he is going to be doing in the future. I would be very interested to know. All right, let's move on to our last email of the day. This email comes to us from Matthew from Leeds in the UK, a longtime viewer of the show. Matthew says, Daisy Ridley confirms Rey was almost a Kenobi. What do you think, mate? Would this have improved the sequel trilogy? Okay, so let's back up for a second. For those of you who may not have heard, Daisy Ridley, well, where's my card? There we go. Daisy Ridley was being interviewed on Jimmy Kimmel Live. We were just talking about Josh Gad. Jimmy Kimmel was off on vacation for the week, so every day of the week he gets a different guest host. Josh Gad was his guest host. And he and Daisy Ridley have a very close personal relationship. They're very good friends off camera. And he starts asking her about some of her behind the scenes things of Rey's character. Nick, had you heard about this? Did you see the interview? Is this
no? This is news to me. I didn't know about this.
Okay. Yeah, so she was interviewed on Jimmy Kimmel Live by Josh Gad, and she starts, kind of spilling the beans about the fact that J.J. Abrams had other plans for her that weren't a Palpatine. So let's go over this particular article is from the Hollywood Reporter, but again, it's it's on any website. She hold on a second. She goes through and says, at the beginning there was toying with an Obi-Wan connection. There were different versions. Then it really went to, it was no one. And then it came to episode 9, and J.J. Abrams pitched me the film, and I was like, oh yeah, Palpatine is granddaddy. Then 2 weeks later, he was like, we're not so sure. So it kept changing. So then, even as we were filming, I wasn't sure what the answer was going to be. And then she goes on and, says other things of that nature. But, Rey's lineage kept changing from film to film and also from moment to moment. It appears that, the filmmakers themselves didn't exactly know what they wanted for her character, which this is not in line with all the stuff that J.J. Abrams has been telling us over the years. I remember Force Awakens came out and we were all blown away. And J.J. Abrams was very adamant in saying, it's important to me that Rey is a nobody, that she doesn't come from any of the previous Star Wars canon people, whatever. But that was not huge public knowledge. And then we saw The Last Jedi, and we come to find out, Rian Johnson delivered on J.J. Abrams' promise that she's a nobody. But we, the audience, didn't know that. So we all blamed director Rian Johnson for making Rey a nobody. We thought that she was going to be important. But no, in his subversive fashion, you build it up to say, no, you're a nobody. And then we come to find out in Rise of Skywalker that Rey actually turns out that she's the granddaughter of Emperor Palpatine. Yeah. And she didn't even know that. She thought that she was going to be a Kenobi. And then she thought, okay, well, maybe I am a nobody. And then, maybe I'm going to be a Kenobi again. Nobody. And now, as it turns out, I'm a Palpatine, but maybe not, but maybe I am. She was so confused as to who her character was. Nick, as an actor, would a situation like this be frustrating for you? How would you deal with something like this if you don't even know your own backstory? How would you play that? And what are your general thoughts that the filmmakers had in mind?
I could see how that's very frustrating. But I think when you're dealing with a movie like this, I would deal with the frustration if I was a lead in a Star Wars movie. But I think a lot of it too, though, is that her character doesn't know her lineage. So I think that's why she was still able to push through and create this great character, because it is a mystery to everyone, including herself. So not having an idea until it's revealed could be very interesting as an acting standpoint. Now, just as a theater goer and watching the movie, I thought all of it was very poorly handled. I was totally fine with her being a nobody. That's fine. It's just a new person, and it just shows you that it opens up that idea of you don't have to be part of this thing or that thing. You can just be a person who comes up and becomes special. I thought it was great, and that J.J. Abrams was that's what he wanted, and Rian Johnson, I thought he did a great job with Jedi. I think the Palpatine thing seemed like J.J. Abrams trying to kind of retcon, fix everything, because all the fanboys were angry, unhappy with the way that they handled Rise of Skywalker. And, be 100% honest, I remember when I watched it the first night, because I watched it a couple times in theater. I was at a packed movie theater, filled to the brim with everybody. It was the first night it was open. I was super excited to watch it. And I just, there was parts of it where I just kept going really? Yeah. And I remember that when they had the Palpatine reveal, the audience gasped and I cackled. I just cackled. I was like, this is such a, are you happy now, fanboys? She's somebody. That's cool, right? And I was like, you should just let her be nobody. It would have been so much more interesting to be you come out. And the Palpatine thing seems so crammed in there, and then the Snokes are there, and Palpatine's behind the whole thing, and there's this and that, and I thought it was very poorly handled.
I think it was extremely poorly handled, and for me, it all comes down to, obviously, it's the filmmakers. Obviously, it's the filmmakers. And ultimately, if I have to put blame on any one person, I would put it on Kathleen Kennedy. Kathleen Kennedy, as the head of Lucasfilm, she was made head of Lucasfilm by George Lucas himself. And while it's easy to put blame on somebody, but let's take a look at Kathleen Kennedy's filmography, shall we? She is one of the most talented producers in Hollywood history. She was casting director and one of the executive producers on not every single Spielberg film, but a great deal of them. A great deal. She same thing, casting director and executive producer on a lot of the George Lucas films and in pretty much all the Star Wars movies. She's had her fingers in Hollywood for decades. Not just her fingers, she's been active in it for decades. She has won awards. She has won Academy Awards. She knows what she's doing, and she knows how to do it well. The one thing Kathleen Kennedy does not know how to do is run a studio. She knows how to run a movie. I don't think that she knows how to run a studio, and here's why. Even though the films, the Lucasfilm, the Disney era Star Wars movies have... How did I start the sentence? I totally derailed myself. The Disney era Star Wars films have been extremely successful, box office wise. Mm-hmm. If they haven't made $1 billion, they've come pretty darn close to making $1 billion. And that is to Kathleen Kennedy's credit. Mm-hmm. The problem is that there's no consistency amongst any of the films. Force Awakens had a great premise. It is one of my favorite Star Wars films of all time. I thought it was fantastic. But it didn't have a clear vision. Why didn't it have a clear vision? Well, let's look at Last Jedi. Let's look at Rise of Skywalker. None of those films have any consistency between the three of them. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that you need to have the same director or the same writer on all of them. You don't. You can have different writers. You can have different directors. But there was no clear vision. They didn't know who Rey was when they started, and they certainly didn't know who she was when they ended. It was a make 'em up as we go. You look at Princess Leia, look at her storyline. I mean, that could have been, it could have been handled worse. It could have been handled worse. It wasn't handled great. Of course, nobody plans on their actor dying in the middle of production. Nobody plans on this. But there are steps that you can take to say, all right, this is how we're going to handle the situation. Even if you didn't plan on your character even if you didn't plan on your actor dying in the middle of production, the fact that you're going to pull a Superman, as she gets blown out into space, her eyes open, she uses the Force to come back to the ship, that just seemed like a bad idea. There was a lot of inconsistency amongst these movies, and not just the main three Star Wars. Same thing with Solo. Like, that was a hot, heaping pile of garbage. Not that it was a bad movie, but the production behind it. You hire Lord and Miller, which I personally would have loved to have seen the Lord and Miller version.
I wish they would have just let them finish it out. I think it would have been a great movie. I think it would have been a great movie.
So interesting. Like, the style of filmmaking that, again, I think on the show a few weeks ago, I compared it to, you order orange chicken, and then you taste the orange chicken, and then you send it back and say, "Now I want General Tso's." Like, you knew what you were ordering when you ordered it. You've had it before. Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. Like, Kathleen Kennedy is not a good studio head for me. Nick, do you have different thoughts or opinions on this subject?
No, I agree with that. I think it was all a bunch of bumbling around because they were trying to make it something new and different and its own thing. But as much as they were trying to make this new world, this new Star Wars story, like its own thing, they wouldn't let it. Every time it started to become its own thing, they were like, no, we have to go back. I mean, that's what happened with Solo. Like, Miller and Lord were like, we want it to be fun. We want it to be like a heist. We want it to be like young Han Solo. And then, Kathleen Kennedy came in, and Lawrence Kasdan, which is a great writer, was like, that's not my script, because they were having them improvise. It was like, let this be something fun. Let it be something else. And instead, they canned them, and then they brought in Ron Howard, who's a great director, but it's still just like, it didn't match up. And I don't hate Solo, because I was like, the potential and there's such great moments in it. And I would have loved to have seen this, but I really wish they would have just let them finish it out. And I think with, you see that, like, I don't know if you've read Colin Trevorrow's script, who he was supposed to do the third
I caught
one.
the cliff notes of it, but I never read it.
Yeah. It's I've done a reading of it. It's great. It's not perfect,
sure,
but it's like, it would have, after follow-up to Last Jedi would have been incredible. And like, I know that there was some falling out with him, which everybody trashed and was like, this is a weird film. And all of a sudden he wasn't working on it. And I know like, they're very like, you're a director, you're poised to do this stuff, and you're basically like gone.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the full aspect of it was, because like the script is like actually really good and really interesting and kept Rey a nobody, and Kylo Ren was still like the problem, but there was all these like really cool characters they had, and they didn't sideline Rose. They everybody had a great moment. Yeah. And I feel like they got nervous and they kept trying to be like, well, they kept trying to capture the original Star Wars, and like the prequels, it was like that was done by George Lucas, but like the original Star Wars was like all a fluke. Like George Lucas didn't think it was going to be anything. He made that, bet with Steven Spielberg about, and like that's how he gets so much money off of it, because he thought it was going to be a joke. He thought it was just going to be a silly thing. But like a lot of it too, like the first movie was so good, A New Hope, was because like George Lucas's ex-wife like helped him edit so much of it. It makes sense.
Well, not only that, but he had to prove himself as a filmmaker. He'd only done THX 3000 or whatever. That was a horrible movie.
He didn't even direct. He didn't direct Empire and Jedi.
Correct.
He just directed A New Hope.
He only directed New Hope, but he still, as a filmmaker, had something to prove. He still had to go out and say, like, this needs to be great. Same thing with Spielberg. Jaws, he needed to prove himself. He only had the film Duel out before that, and nobody had ever heard of it. That's why so many of these filmmakers have great films early on in their career, but then, later on they're okay. They had to prove themselves, and with an established franchise, J.J. Abrams did not have to prove himself. He was already an established director. Same thing with Rian Johnson, and same thing with J.J. Abrams. See what I did there? Anyway, I want to go back to Matthew's question for a second and just address something. He says, do you think that had Rey been a Kenobi, that this would have improved the sequel trilogy? My short answer to that is no.
Yeah.
Because everything that we've addressed before, there was no consistency. There was no plan. They didn't have this entire plan laid out. Like, love or hate the Jurassic World movies by Colin Trevorrow, there is a plan. He is building something. He's building towards a certain thing. And this has always been his plan. Now, I hated Fallen Kingdom. I thought that was it's easily the worst film in the entire Jurassic series.
Exception of Jurassic Park 3. I'd say that was pretty rough. But I agree, Fallen Kingdom wasn't that great.
But like I said, love it or hate it, there is a plan. Everything is coherent in his universe. There was nothing coherent about these 3 Star Wars films. So that's why I'm going to say no, making her a Kenobi would not have improved the story. Nick?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think if they would have gone in being like, she's a Kenobi, we know she's a Kenobi, here's how we're going to set things up. We're going to have, I remember in Force Awakens, they have that amazing moment where she like reaches for the lightsaber and you hear all the different voices. They even imagined to get Alec Guinness's voice because they got afraid and took the Rey part.
I loved that scene. Yeah,
that was so amazing. And I was like, yeah, how cool would it have been if it was a Kenobi? But then they were like, she's not a Kenobi, get that out of your head. That's fine. I'm fine with that. Then I think making her Kenobi, it would have only improved it if that was their plan. Like you said, there wasn't a plan. If they knew she's going to be a Kenobi, this is the big reveal, here's the thing we show, here's the flashback, here's the cool thing we have with Ewan McGregor, like blah, 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 then that would have been rich and fulfilling. But just to be like, just kidding, you're a Kenobi, that's not going to fix anything.
Nope. Definitely not. Anyway, guys, a huge question is, what do you think? Do you actually have a differing opinion? Do you think that the movie could have benefited from Rey being a Kenobi as opposed to not a Snoke? Oh, shoot, what's his name? Palpatine, thank you. Would it have benefited from her being a Kenobi? Instead, jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys, that closes out the Gotta Love Them Movies mailbag, which means we only have one topic left, which is to take your live questions.
Alive! It's alive!
It's a lie!
It is time to take your live questions. You've been sending in live questions all during the show, and we would now like to address them. And as I'm bringing up the live questions now, you are going to be grossly disappointed because we only have one comment. This is what makes live shows fun, Nick. Our only question, our one and only comment of the day comes from a good friend of mine, Andre Ouden, stand-up comedian from Florida. Andre says, "Hi, Mike," with an exclamation mark. Well, hi, Andre. I hope you're well, my friend. I hope all the hurricanes have passed you by and that you're happy, healthy, and well, my friend. Nick, I don't believe you've ever met Andre, but if you did, what are some pleasantries you would exchange with a man like
Andre, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're staying safe, and I hope that you're enjoying all the movies that you can that are out there to watch.
Agreed. This is a rather disappointing end to the show today. Yesterday, we had comment after comment after comment, so I was expecting something a little different. Instead of having a grand finale, we are going to fizzle out with a pop, I guess, instead of a bang. You guys, thank you so much for watching the show today. Thanks for being a part of the online community. Thank you for emailing me questions before and news articles. That is always a huge help. I would like to offer a huge thank to my guest today, Mr. Nick Carrillo, living all the way. Are you in Queens right now? Are you in Brooklyn?
I'm going between my place in Brooklyn and my girlfriend's place in Jersey. So. Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know that you had some auditions earlier today, and best of luck to you, sir. Where can people find you online, and what are some upcoming projects you'd like to plug?
You can always find me on Twitter and Instagram at Nick Carrillo, and that's NickCarrillo 77. Always post and doing stuff there. I don't know if people know Socially Distant Improv, which is I think they do live shows on Instagram and Facebook. I do shows with them every Saturday at 8. We do the big show, and every other Thursday. So it didn't happen this Thursday, but there will be next Thursday at 2 p.m. I do 2prov with my buddy Langston Belton, who is also in Puffs and is an improviser, and Mike knows very well. We're called Tango and Cash. We talk up top about pop culture, kind of have a little fun, and then we do take a suggestion, then we do improv. That's every other Thursday at 2 p.m. Yeah, and just be on the lookout. I got a new podcast that I'm on the working on, putting out there. I'd love to have you on, but we're early on. It's gonna be called You Gotta Try This, but I'll be around.
Sounds great. Awesome. Nick, thanks again so much for being on the show and for offering all of your insight and professional expertise. Ladies and gentlemen, if you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is everything that the entire cast of Puffs would want you to do. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mike Brown. We live in a very weird, strange world. We have been for quite a while. Please speak kind words to each other. Please infuse a little bit of kindness if you have an opportunity to perform an act of kindness. I highly encourage you to take that opportunity. Thank you so much for watching. Thanks for being a part of the community, and I will see you tomorrow.